Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC review, and in this DC review I'll be covering Superman Unlimited issue 13, and as you can see here I have the main plus 2 variant covers. So do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Probably about 2 do, and the third not so much. So for the first cover, I give it a 7 out of 10. Next is the second cover, which I give a 7.5 out of 10. And last but not least, the third cover, to which I give an 8 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story, as we have a look around the beginning, the middle, and of course the end, and also what's happening story-wise with the characters. So as the story begins, we catch up with the character of Bippo and Beppo as an event takes place, to which Bippo gets injured by people who are searching for Beppo. So as we start to move in relation to what's happening with the present young John Kent that is in the story, there are still some characteristics that might suggest that this is not the John Kent we are looking for, but if it is, what's actually happening with the older John Kent who is Tomorrow Man? As the story advances, we get to see both Tomorrow Man and the young Superboy go out of their way to try to become heroes, until we see a burst of his anger. And moving to last but not least, towards the end, to which we have the older John Kent speaking with Lois Lane, and also some personal thoughts in relation to this particular John Kent, the young John Kent that's in the story. For my overall rating for the internal art, I give it a 7 out of 10. Next is the area of the story rating. So first things first, do we get anything comic book reference-wise? We certainly do, to issues 11 and 12. Next is the area of time, to which we don't get anything mentioned at all. Next is the area of the location, to which a lot of this takes place in Metropolis. Last but not least is the cast of characters, consisting of Ro and Sigma Donaldson, or Donovan. We have Beppo. We have Ultraman, which shows up in a dream. We have the young John Kent, Superboy, but also the older John Kent, Tomorrow Man, now ? We also see Lois Lane. We also get to see Tina and a couple of others, Dabney as well, which connect to the Daily Planet in some of Lois Lane's discussions. And what we sort of see here is we have the older John reflecting on his own memories, whilst we have the younger John who has a reflection of their own memories. Now, I do want to point out that I did watch Jace and Rocky's review on this particular issue. Now, Jace brought up something that this young John Kent might not be who he says he is, but also we had Rocky calling out that the older John Kent might not also be who he says he is. Now, as for myself, taking those in account, one thing that I sort of like to do is sort of like follow the timeline that there's, or follow timelines in relation to characters. And these timelines aka iterations, as they're sometimes called, they can change in regards to who is writing the story and where they actually take elements from. Now, this is why I think that the Summer of Superman special is relevant to this as well, because there's one thing that I pointed out on my Summer of Superman special is that we do get to see within the story, to which we do have the appearance of the Tomasi, the Jurgens Tomasi timeline, but it then gets changed into the Bendis timeline. So the Tomasi Jurgens timeline still exists, but we have a new timeline which connects to the Bendis Taylor timeline. All right, it's no longer Jurgens, and because that timeline, it also takes from certain events, certain memories, and we also see that applied here, even in the Dan Slott one. Now, one thing more I want to add is I feel this story is just way too clean. As for myself, I also feel that there might be a possibility that this is a John Kent that Damian doesn't know, and this, I'm talking of the young John Kent. Now, there was a John Kent that was spoken of in the Super Sons of Tomorrow arc, and that is a John Kent that Damian never met, and if I were to put it vice versa, it is also a John Kent that never met that Damian Wayne. Now we bring that to this timeline that we're seeing here, and one must also ask, how close was Dan Slott to also Brian Michael Bendis to also bring back his timeline? Not the Tomasi Jurgens timeline, but the Bendis Taylor timeline, to which we get to see, and I mean to which we get to see this younger John Kent have memories of his torture. And then we move into the older John Kent. Yes, we have been told that he was being tortured, even to the point to which he even dreamt of Nightwing being there. Well, in this particular account, we have an older John Kent saving a younger John Kent. Jay seems to think that maybe it's the actual Earth Free Crime Syndicate John Kent, which it's very much a possibility, but wouldn't that also apply to the older John Kent as well? Because there's many of us who are like big into the Super Sons, and they see the older John Kent as an imposter. He's not the real deal. But I do like his new hero mantle. I will give it that. Being that of Tomorrow Man, I feel that is actually fitting. Another thing too is also looking at some of the character interactions that older John has presently had in the timeline. Who isn't to say that the fifth dimensional imp didn't happen to grab this young John Kent from a dream? Remember the character of Dreamer? And there was also meant to be like a antithesis type character to her as well, which I think was meant to be a male character. And I'm trying to somewhat work out the power set to this imp, this fifth dimensional imp, and I'm wondering if it might be possible that this fifth dimensional imp might have actually even grabbed a John Kent from a dream connected to Ultraman and not sort of like outside of Ultraman, like actual inside his mind. And what we're seeing here is basically a fragment of Ultraman. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day. And seeing that this will also be shared on the Super Sons Fortress of Attitude playlist as well. We'll see you next time.